The quarterfinal stage is where the Champions Cup really starts to get real. It's where, you get a win, fans start to dream of lifting the trophy, and so do players. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. We're really getting to the pointy end of the term now, just 8 teams left. After the weekend, there's only going to be 4, and each team that makes it through to the semi-final will believe that they have a realistic chance of going on to claim the Champions Cup for 2025. And, there's so many good teams left in it as well. It's going to be, it's going to be tough once we get to the semi-finals, certainly, to actually pick a winner overall. Obviously, there are certain favourites, Bordeaux being the hot favourites, but, you got defending champions Toulouse in there as well. You've got a whole other raft of teams too. But what we're going to do today is, as usual, go down through each of the games. We will talk about how the teams got to this stage, and then talk about how I think that the game itself, the quarterfinal, each of the quarterfinals is going to go. So let me just pull up the details here. So we're going to start with the first game. So it's a Friday game. It is Leinster versus Glasgow Warriors. It is an 8 o'clock kickoff on Friday, 11th of April, and it's at the Aviva Stadium. It's on RTE if you're watching in Ireland, also on Premier Sport, beIN Sport, Pro Rugby, and Super Rugby as well. And if you have a Now TV package that includes rugby, you'll be able to catch it on there too. So plenty of places to watch this game, and looking at it on paper, certainly going to be a fantastic contest between these two. So how did these two get here? Well, let's start with the home team, Leinster. So in the pool stages, they beat Bristol away 35 points to 12. Bristol kind of holding them a little bit early on, game scoreless. Then Leinster just went up a few gears for a 10-15 minute period in the second half, and just the game was over. Bristol just could not live with them. Then after that, at home, Clermont gave them a decent game there, winning 15-7 the first time, I think, since 2017. I could be wrong, that Leinster didn't win with a bonus point at home. So fair play to Clermont for that. And we saw, they gave a good account of themselves in their quarterfinal as well. Then went away to La Rochelle. They won 16-14 over there. I think probably, Leinster's best performance, all-around performance at least, in the competition so far this year. And then at home, top of the table in England, Bath beating 47 points to 21. Then onto their quarterfinal last week, 62-0 win against Harlequins, and it was one of those ones where Harlequins were lucky to get nil. Honestly, they didn't provide any real threat in the game, and Leinster at times were a bit clunky, but when they clicked, and they put the scores on. So decent coming in for Leinster in that one, but we talked about it in the review as well, that it's the kind of result that if Leinster go on and win this, then everyone was confident and it was good preparation for them. If they go on and lose this, then people come out and say, well, they weren't really tested by Harlequins, they weren't battle hardened, and that's why they lost. So you can take your pick depending on what the result is. There's going to be people saying one way or the other on that. On to Glasgow then. So they started out in the pool stages. So they beat Sale 38 points to 19 in their first game up. Very good win there, and it was looking like coming in as the URC champions, they were actually going to really make their mark in the Champions Cup this year. But then they go away to Toulon. They don't pick the best team. They leave a lot of their good players on the bench, and they bring them on in the second half and they have a bit of a comeback, but they still lose the game 30 points to 29. And that really is a tale of what might have been, I think, for them, because they could have had, a higher seeding certainly in this. Now, the higher seeding may have meant that instead of playing away to Leinster this weekend, they're playing at home to Toulouse. So, it may not have been a better scenario for them, but they would have been at home at least, still against one of the best teams, defending champions. Then they would have been in that one as well. So, but yeah, on from there, then Racing, they beat 29-19 as they kind of steadied the ship a little bit. But then in the last game of the pool, like they lose away to Harlequins 24-7, and a bit of it, not the performance that we would expect from Glasgow. Honestly, it was kind of a throwback to 3 seasons ago, where they weren't showing up in big games. Then in their own quarter final, they beat Leicester 43 points at 19, but it could have easily been 63-19. Glasgow, not really taking their chances in the first half, and in the second half, then they just eased away. Leicester, they scored the opening try, didn't offer anything really in attack for the rest of the first half, and by the time they got their couple of scores in the second half, Glasgow already had the game won. So, could have been a much bigger margin there. And, interestingly as well, because Glasgow have been pretty ruthless and pretty clinical when they get into the 22. So they're going to have to improve on that against Leinster. So how do I think this game is going to go? Well, Leinster, we see it all the time when they're up against teams where all they have is attack. So the likes of Harlequins, Bath, Bristol, it's generally a comfortable win for them. But when a team can bring a little bit more, like, and some teams bring a lot more. So you look at the likes of, Toulouse last year in the final, and La Rochelle in the final, the 2 years previous to that. And we've seen them, against the Bulls previously, even against Glasgow previously in the URC as well. When a team has more than just their attack, where, they have a decent defense, they've got a really good set piece, especially if they have a decent driving maul. Glasgow, one of the best driving mauls in the whole of Europe. That's, one of their real weapons. It's not just the fact that their driving maul is good, it's that they're very well drilled. They've got great variation on it, and they also have, in Johnny Matthews, a hooker who, when he's at the back of that maul, he's got that kind of Dan Sheehan type, ability to go off the back and get over the line as well. So, and Glasgow, on top of that, they do have the attack. They've got the slick hands. They have the, more than one distributor in the back line as well. They have the pace, they have the power. They're, one of the best lineouts in the URC. They've got a decent scrum as well. So they've got basically a full package coming against, a Leinster team who, when Leinster are on it, there are very few teams that can live with them. But a team like Glasgow can, get in there, affect them, especially at the breakdown, disrupt their breakdown, slow that ball down, and get to the mat set piece, because we know that at scrum time, things can go either way for Leinster in that one. They can be brilliant, or like they can be giving away penalties all day. So there's plenty of avenues, I think, for Glasgow to get a win in this one. But I think, the difference with Leinster this year compared to previous years is that they seem to have planned their season better in order to avoid the mistakes of previous years. So in previous years, they were accused of basically not being battle hardened coming into the knockout stages of this terms especially, but also the URC. Then also the fact that, chopping and changing the side too much in terms of players who had to come in for injuries or whatever. There was they had two teams, right? Whereas now you're seeing more kind of mixing and matching with the teams, and more players, fresh players coming in and giving new impetus as well to the first team. And that's been a big thing. You look at the likes of You had Clarkson. You had the likes of Tector. Lots of other players as well. Like the Osborne come in last year, but like his brother as well coming into the team and all giving impetus in there as well. But then you've also got the players who were brought in this year specifically for, for this tournament, but also to help Leinster, break that drought on trophies. And that includes, RG Snyman, Barrett, and then Slimani as well. And I've said it before, Slimani, the best of those three in terms of his impact on the team. Now, last week he did struggle a little bit in the scrum, but again, that's, with Leinster, that's what you get. It can be good and bad there. But, I think all of those factors with Leinster, I think it's going to be, they're not going to get caught cold in this one. And I think because of that, I'm going to back Leinster to win. But I think Glasgow are going to get closer than maybe a lot of people think that they will. Because this is a really good Glasgow side. And again, if they get their tails up, Leinster will really have to work to get back into the game. So I think the start to the game, especially, with Leinster, right, there are always some crucial time periods in the game. So first of all, getting a good start. If you make Leinster chase the game, then it's much harder for them to actually come back, rather than if they get a lead, they're so good at managing a lead and stretching it out. And then you've got the period just before halftime and the period just after halftime. Leinster, so often they do a 1-2 combo, a try just in the stroke of halftime, then they come out, they start the second half and they get another try, and suddenly, from like maybe in the 38th minute, you were leading it by a point, or you were like just 3 points behind, and then suddenly, 3 or 4 minutes later on the clock, like so in the 44th or 43rd, 44th minute of the game in the second half, maybe like you're 2 scores behind, and that they're so good at that. Just switch on the whole time. When other teams are maybe mentally fatigued, or they're still not completely switched on, having come out of the dressing room into the second half. So those are crucial periods. Then Leinster tend to as well, between like the 50th minute to the 65th minute. That's when they can turn a small lead into a game-winning lead as well. And then the final period is those last kind of 15, 20 minutes of the game where Leinster tend not to score that many points. That's like, Glasgow, they want to be going into the last 15 minutes or so, either just to score behind or leading the game, because then, if you look at the stats, like a lot of teams actually win the last 15 minutes or so of the game against Leinster. And if Glasgow can do that, maybe they will cause the upset, and kind of start beginning to realize the potential that squad has. Because I don't think that the winning the URC last year certainly shows that they're starting to fulfill that, but there's more to come from this team as well. They're a team that should be in Champions Cups, semi-finals, finals, etc. They're that talented, and but whether they can do that or not, again, it's going to be a tough ask for them. I'm a Leinster fan, but like Glasgow are probably my number one non-Irish teams to support as well. So, a little bit torn on this, but, Leinster are my team. So it may be a little bit biased on my part, and I always recognise my bias to the best of my ability, and also try to kind of temper it as well. But I do genuinely believe that Leinster are going to take this one, but Glasgow are going to make it, a real fight for them. Okay. Next then we have is Bordeaux versus Munster. So this one is on Saturday, the 12th of April, 2025. It's a 3:00 kickoff. It's at the Stade Chaban des Mars, and it's on beIN Sport, France TV, Premier Sport, Flow Rugby, and Super Sport as well. So again, plenty of places for you to catch it. And, Bordeaux, for many people, the hot favourites to win the entire competition, given their performance in the pool, but also the fact that they have home draw as well. If they keep winning through the whole competition as well, and that could be, a big factor in getting them to the final. Last year at this stage, they were shocked. Harlequins beat them 42 points to 41, and they were at home for that one as well. So that's maybe a note of caution for them to, make sure that they come through this one. But let's talk about how these teams got here. So we start with Bordeaux. So in the pool stages, absolutely tore it up. Started with a home win 42-28 against Leicester, and then went away to Ulster 40 points to 19. Ulster actually competitive in the first half. In second half, Bordeaux just blew them away. Then they go away to Exeter. They beat them 69-17, like a massive win. And then they round off the pool with a 66 points to 12 win against the Sharks. So, scoring at least 40 points in each of the 4 games. And then, other than really the Leicester game, not conceding that much, like, teens or even like 12s, not even in the teens, like, is what they were conceding. And then Leicester, again, not really in that game. They kind of, got a couple of late tries, I think, in that one. And then their quarterfinal then against Ulster, 43 points to 31. Ulster certainly far more competitive than they were in the pool game, but at the same time, Bordeaux always kept that kind of score ahead, for the most part through the game as well. So no actual danger, I think, in losing that one. I think it was a good sign, certainly for Ulster, for next year. But yeah, I think Bordeaux were fairly comfortable, and the fact that Pinot absolutely brilliant. The try scored in that game. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, because the guy just beggars belief, honestly. Just his ability to just glide through gaps and just nonchalantly go around players, and like players who are quick, and just leave them standing there. It's just crazy. Like, the guy's so good, but so many good performances from them as well. Thought Joey Carby, before he went off as well, was excellent for them too. And he's obviously, I don't know whether he went off injured or not, but if he's available for this one, obviously he's going to be up against his old team. Going to be a special day for him. But yeah, Munster then, how did they get here? So they start, first of all, with a win, 33-7 against Stade Francais, who were down to like 14 and 13 men at times. And Munster actually struggled against them. And Stade Francais, brought a whole bunch of young lads off the bench, in the last kind of 15-20 minutes when they were men down. And they just stood up, like they really made it difficult for Munster from there. Then Munster go away to Castres. They lose 16-14. Another one where, a team going away and maybe kick themselves that they didn't win the game, because certainly they had chances to do so. Then back to Ireland, and they beat Saracens 70 points to 12. Decent performance there. And then to round things off, they went away to Northampton, a team that kind of soundly beat them twice last year in the competition, in the pool stages and in the knockout stages, but they gave a much better account of themselves, and they did lose 34 points to 32, but since then Munster have been coming into a bit of form, and we saw that against La Rochelle as well. Went away to La Rochelle, they win 25 points to 24. Now, there was a big turning point in the game where, La Rochelle, they had Teddy Thomas in space close to the line. All he had to do was run it in, and for whatever reason, he decided he wanted to beat a couple of players before going in. That didn't work out for him. They didn't score, and then Munster went up the end and scored as well. So, maybe you say a bit of luck for Munster in that one, but I say, well, you just play the game that's there for you, right? It's not Munster's fault he did that, and even if it scored, there's nothing to say that Munster wouldn't have still gone on to win the game. I always say that unless it's the final kick of the game where we're not going to have a restart or anything, like any score, if we say, oh, they didn't get it, but if they got it, they would have won, doesn't count unless it's the last kick of the game, because there's always, a complete change in mindset if a team is winning or they're losing in terms of them pushing on and trying to get extra scores and stuff like that. So, but a brilliant win for Munster, and I think a brilliant win for the competition as well, because we've had, previous to this, 2 seasons where nobody won away in the last 16. So, seeing that was brilliant. Not so good for La Rochelle, and certainly ex-Munster player Ron Lagarde, the head coach there, either. But I think, for the competition, it was brilliant. Now, can they repeat the trick is the thing. But, it's a big assignment for them, right, to go away to Bordeaux, again, the hot favourites for the entire competition, and get over there and get a win. I think for this Munster team, we've seen them. They won the URC a couple of seasons ago, by coming into this part of the season and hitting a vein of form, and that wave just carried them to the trophy. But we haven't seen as much of them in this competition at this level, and I think maybe Bordeaux are going to have a little bit too much of them. But I think Munster will give a good account for themselves, and they're another team that are kind of on the cusp, I think, of having better performances all around in European competition, like in this competition, from next season on. So I think, and the fact as well that Crowley has just extended his contract with Munster until 2027, like that's a big G up for the province. It's great. It's great for the province. It's great for Irish rugby. Again, as a Leinster fan, I'm not one of these that feeds into this whole thing of Prendergast versus Crowley. I'm a Leinster fan. Like I should be thinking, I want Prendergast to play. So Crowley doing badly or moving or not being eligible anymore is great. No, it's not. For me, I'm an Irish fan, a rugby fan. Like, I support Leinster, but I'll support all the other provinces, and I want them to do well. I also support all the other URC teams, and I want them to do well. And I don't want to see teams doing badly and then my team benefiting from it. Sometimes it happens, but I'd rather, if Leinster are to win another trophy, it's because they performed and they did well rather than the other team didn't, or something, befell the other team. So Crowley re-signing there, I think, is fantastic news. And, hopefully that's a G up for Munster, and they can give, a good account of themselves in this game. But I do think that Bordeaux, it's not just that talented backline. They've got the pack to go with it as well. And that's the big thing, is that, when a team has that blend of power and also like power, pace, slick hands, like forwards that can play like backs, but can also get in there and do the grunt work as well. That's a very potent combination. And, Bordeaux, again, the fact that they lost at this stage last year to Harlequins, they'll be ready for this one, I think. And, again, it's another one, I think, for Munster, where if Munster win, people say, well, they were battle hardened because of La Rochelle. And if they lose, people will say, it was just too much effort. They put too much effort into the La Rochelle game and they couldn't go again for this one. But I don't think it's always like that. It's, again, that's kind of hindsight being 2020, right? But whatever happens, I do think that Munster, will progress in terms of, future seasons on the back of their run this year in the competition, but I'm going to go for a Bordeaux win in that one. Okay, on to the next one then, and it is Northampton Saints versus Castres Olympique. So this one is also on Saturday. It's a 5:30 kickoff. It's at the Saints Stadium, better known as Franklin's Gardens, and this one is on Premier Sport, beIN Sport, Super Sport, and Flow Rugby. So again, plenty of places to catch the game. So let's talk about how Northampton got here. So they beat Castres in the opening game of the pool stages, 38 points to 8, comprehensive win there. So that is obviously going to give them massive confidence coming into this. Then they went away to the Bulls and won 30 points to 21. No easy feat to do that. Like, not many teams go away to the Bulls and actually come away with a win. Then they went away to Stade Francais and they lost 43 points to 35. And then that game against Munster that we already talked about, 34 points to 32 win there. And then in their round of 16 game on Friday, they beat Clermont 46 points to 24. Clermont, in the game for a while, but then Northampton kind of pulled away. But Clermont, fair play to them, they didn't give up, and let the score be a blowout as well in that one. But yeah, Northampton coming in, good pedigree, got to the semi-final last year, almost came back and beat Leinster in that one as well at Croke Park. So, they're a team that have been there and done that. Not doing great in the Premiership at the moment. They're down in 8th place, but still, really, in this competition at least, really delivering. Then Castres. So, first of all, in the pool stages, hang on, let me pull up. Yeah, I think I'm missing one of their ones. So, let me pull it up on the site because I don't have the whole thing. Let me just filter them. So they did start with, let me see, where's Castres? Oh, there we go. Okay, right. So let me go through. So, started off with that loss against Northampton. So 38 points to 8. Then that home game against Munster where they won 16-14. Definitely could have lost that one. Munster, had chances to win, but Castres were the ones who actually, held on for the victory. Then, a weakened Bulls team, but they put them to the sword, 49 points to 10. And then finally, they go away to Saracens. And this, to me, their most impressive performance of the season in this competition, and they win 32 points to 24. So that really was good from them. And then in their quarterfinal last week, then playing Benetton, and Benetton did bloody well, right? Benetton were winning right up until the last minute, 37 points to 32. And then Castres scored the last minute and to even things up with 37 all, and then nailed the conversion as well to set up this meeting here. So, they had to come through some adversity in that, and they did it. So, that's certainly a good sign for them. And, I think overall, Castres, maybe if they're playing, maybe they had another home game, you might think that they get through, but yeah, they're playing against, again, a Northampton side, who they made the semi-final last year, whisker away from making the final, and we talked about Northampton being down in 8th place in the Premiership. Castres are 5th in the top 14, so, doing okay, but not, setting the world alight at the same time there. And the fact that Northampton beat them handily in the pool stages as well, that's certainly going to be playing on their minds for this game. And, it doesn't matter what team actually went out, if you're a Northampton Saints player, all you remember is that you beat this team, even if it's not the same personnel, but you beat this team fairly handily. And that confidence is still going to be there for them. I think playing at home, the fact that they've progressed previously as well, really will stand to them. And therefore, I'm going to go for a Northampton win. Castres, it's one of those ones where, it could be a repeat of the pool stages, but I think, they will certainly be closer on the scoreline, I think, but I'm not sure. They need a good start if they're going to cause an upset. I think, if Northampton, get a bit of a lead, you could see some heads going down on the Castres side, and Northampton could, pull away and actually win, maybe at a bit of a canter in that one. But we'll have to see from there. On to then the final quarterfinal of this year. So it is Toulon versus Toulouse. So this one is on Sunday. It's a 3:00 kickoff. It's in the Stade Félix Mayol. So Toulon haven't lost at home all season, but it's not stopping people basically predicting that Toulouse are going to win this one. So Toulon certainly with something to prove in that game. But let's look at how they went through the pool stages. So started off going away to the Stormers, winning 24-14. That was a very decent win because Stormers at that stage, hadn't kind of decided that that they were going to send weekend teams or wherever. They're playing at home as well. So a very good win for Toulon to be able to go there and do that. Then home to Glasgow, they win 30 points to 29. We talked about that, in Glasgow's preview as well, where Glasgow really had a chance to win that game. Toulon were looking comfortable. Then Glasgow brought those, experienced players off the bench, and they turned the game around and almost won it as well. So that's maybe a bit of a warning sign, certainly for Toulon, that they've got to take all of their chances against Toulouse. Then another home game, they beat Harlequins 33 points to 21. And then finally, they go away to Sale, and not their best performance, losing 33 points to 7. Against a Sale team who, were, not brilliant, honestly, throughout the competition as well. So to lose that one, not brilliant for them. But in fairness to Sale, we'll talk about them in a second with Toulouse as well. But onto their their round of 16 against Saracens. They win 72 points to 42, but they were leading early on. Then Saracens up by 22 points, and then Toulon come back and win by 30 points. So 52 point swing for Toulon in that one. And Saracens, they sent a weekend side as well. They didn't include the bulk of their English international players, and probably kicking themselves because it was when the benches come on that really, the gulf between the teams started opening, and Toulon ate up that lead and then just blew past them as well. But their opposition then, Toulouse, so another team who tore up in the pool stages, and because of the format, like, they're away from home in this one, and even though they were, probably the second or third best team performance in the whole pool stages, but they're in the same pool as Bordeaux, who were number 1 seeds going through. So start with 61 points to 21 win at home to Ulster. Then, they decide, we're going to keep scoring lots of points. Go away to Exeter and they win 64 points to 21. Then they go away to the Sharks and they win 20 points to 8. So that, even though that was a very good performance from them against, a Sharks team full of Springboks, That was the performance that basically cost them the number 1 seeds because they didn't get the bonus point in that one. And then they finish off then with 80 points, 80 points to 12 win against Leicester. That is just absolutely out of this world performance. Then in their quarterfinal, in the round of 16 game, not so hot, honestly. They score early, but then against Sale, so it was 38 points to 15 against Sale, but they score early. Sale then get it into the lead, and Sale are winning at halftime, and Sale had chances to increase that lead, but they didn't take them. Toulouse certainly looking wobbly, but then they steadied the ship and they came through and they won comfortably in the end. But certainly some vulnerability there from them too, and that's the kind of thing that Toulon will be looking at and thinking we can exploit the areas that Sale did and maybe do a bit better than them too. But like this game, we're talking about it's third versus first in the top 14, and like you look at actually in this quarter final, like in the top one, Leinster versus Glasgow, that's first and second in the URC. Then we have Bordeaux Munster second in the top 14 versus fifth in the URC, and then Northampton Castres is 8th in the Premiership versus 5th in the top 14, and in this one is 3rd versus 1st in the top 14. So we've got 4 of the top 5 in the top 14 in these quarterfinals, with the top 2 in the URC as well. So there's a lot of kind of heavyweights in here, and then even like the ones that aren't up at that level, you've also got Northampton, who are the defending Premiership champions. You got Munster, who were URC champions 2 seasons ago as well. So there's tons of pedigree in here as well. But you look at these two, like Toulon, you go back to the days when they had Johnny Wilkinson in their team and they won this competition 3 years on the bounce. They're not the same team anymore. And they're going against a Toulouse team, who are defending champions, defending top 14 champions as well, looking to do the double-double. And it really is a big ask for Toulon in this one. And, I'm not going to go against the received wisdom, as it were. I'm going to go for Toulouse win in that one as well. Okay, so those are the previews for the Champions Cup. Tomorrow, we're going to do the preview for the Challenge Cup as well. And then over the weekend, we're going to cover all 4 of these. So there will be reviews of each of these games. And then we'll fit in whatever Champions Cup or Challenge Cup games that we can as well. So the plan is to cover 5 or 6 of the 8 games this weekend. So all 4 Champions Cup, and then 1 or 2 from the Challenge Cup. And again, it depends on which games are on at what time, because if games are on at the same time, I'm not going to be able to. I have to pick one. And if a Champions Cup game is on at the same time as the Challenge Cup game, then I'm picking the Champions Cup game because I want to cover all 4 of these. But yeah, I'll do my best to cover as many games as I can. But either way, we will at the end of the weekend as well have a wrap up, so a review of the round for each of the competitions for the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup as well. But like, I'm very excited about these games of the weekend. Very nervous, honestly, against that game against Glasgow as well. It's I'm hoping Leinster win rather than expecting Leinster win in that one, and that's when it's getting serious in the competition. Where like against Harlequins, I didn't expect Leinster to win by so much, but I certainly expected them to win. Not the case this weekend. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments.